You're listening to One Lowry, Many Stories, a special podcast series celebrating Lowry Turns 25, in partnership with the University of Salford and commissioned by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. I'm your host for this episode, Eleanor Whitehurst. What springs to mind when you hear the word Lowry? Many Northerners will tell you that it's a word that belongs to their culture, the name of an artist whose work reflects the industrial background of Salford. They might tell you that their nan had a copy of Coming from the Mill hanging above the mantelpiece in her 2-up, 2-down terrace in Bolton. And did you know he used to collect her rent? Lowry is a name that has been borrowed from Salford's past and given a new cause. Synonymous with creativity and urbanisation, the artist continues to be reflected within the local area upon one of the biggest stages outside of London's West End. Bold, elegant, and a little bit crazy, a twisting, turning marvel of steel and dreams sitting on the edge of a windswept quay. We have interviewed over 40 people who have a connection with the Lowry, be it those who have seen the building grow from its first inception to performers, artists, patrons, staff, volunteers and locals. As your host today, I'd like to take you on a journey alongside these special interviewees and their stories to see how creativity is the lifeblood of Lowry's mission. Welcome to Lowry and Creativity.
A lot of people come to the Lowry these days and don't associate it with the artist, or they're young people, or they're from overseas and they've never heard of Lowry, and they think Lowry is just the name of the building. And one of the first things I do when I meet new people is to remind them that actually we take our name from the artist, and he was sort of the inspiration behind us in the first place. He's
hugely integral to us as an organisation. He's so intergenerational, but also he feels so unique to this area. And maybe to the Northwest in general, I guess.
I mean, he was a curious character. He was a fascinating man. He was actually a theatre man himself. I think he'd be quite proud of what we do. I think he was quirky and idiosyncratic and had his own personality. And I think that's a bit of what the Lowry is.
I think part of that original vision for the Lowry was about cementing the importance of Ellis Lowry as a painter. You know, we still want to build on that reputation and get more people to enjoy and see what he has to offer.
The work of Lawrence Stephen Lowry has been displayed in the building since Lowry's first opening. He is a permanent fixture in the gallery, with 249 of his works on display, the biggest collection of his work in the world, including one of his most famous paintings, Going to the Match. For 24 years it hung proudly for the people of Salford to see, however, it was only ever on loan.
It was owned by the Professional Footballers Association. Shortly after the pandemic, they decided for good reasons they had to sell it, and we were absolutely devastated. It was going to be taken from public view. It was taken off our walls. It was going to be auctioned in a few short months. It could have gone anywhere in the world. It could have gone into a private collection, and it definitely could have ended up not here in the north. And we obviously were not in a fantastic position to say we're going to buy this at any cost. We needed to find ways of raising funds to be able to have a go at pitching for that painting.
Julia Fawcett, the Lowry's chief executive, was able to attend the auction with a pocket full of funds, generated by the community, to try and buy the painting back.
We ran a public campaign and it was gorgeous because not only did it help us get to the point where we were able to bid for the painting, but it was also really life-affirming, the way that it actually reminded everybody that art does matter, and the public told us it mattered. It gave us all a lift to our wings, and the highlight for me was being able to go down to Christie's, sit in that auction room with determination that there was no way we were coming out of that room without that painting. We bought it, we saved it forever for the people of the north, meaning that it will be there free available for everybody. And that is just one of the most amazing outcomes that we could have possibly have hoped for. And that's why in our 25th year, using Going to the Match as one of our anchor pieces for the new immersive exhibition was just part of our commitment to people that we made at that time, which is if we manage to buy this painting, we're going to make sure that even more people get to enjoy it. And we have.
L.S. Lowry's artwork possesses a raw, personal quality that reflects the area well. His art provided the perfect springboard for the modern-day Lowry through a shared passion of advocating for unheard local stories. Creatives flock to Lowry and have come and gone over the years, producing an impressive catalogue of exhibitions. The biggest aim, as far as Director of Visual Arts Michael Simpson is concerned, is providing a blank canvas.
We always like to see ourselves as a venue where artists can try new things, and particularly if you've got visual artists working in performance, sometimes they might have dipped their toe in, but we say go for it. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, well, just as long as we've all learned something from it, that's just as good. So it's about encouraging people to go on an adventure if they're going to work with us. And then it's about testing us, testing the artists and testing our audiences.
As a result, some of the exhibitions that Lowry hosts have grown away from a traditional fine art exhibit. They're bold, physical, and give a voice to the people who need it most.
We turn the whole galleries into a bit of a playground. A lot of the Lowry's DNA is we love working with artists, we love presenting artists and performers, but really we want to find ways for everybody to feel genuinely as if they can find some sort of art form they might like and give it a go.
Black people don't often get the opportunity to be curators and storytellers. So it kind of gave me this multifaceted superpower of being able to tell the story in terms of music, words, pictures, and just that general atmosphere of creating art. Hi, I'm DJ Paulette. I am known for playing records. Started off at the Hacienda in the 90s, and I'm still going strong now. But I'm also an author. I've written a book called Welcome to the Club, The Life and Lessons of a Black Woman DJ. And I did a fabulous exhibition here at the Lowry in 2018 called Homebird.
Homebird was a reflection of Paulette's life, growing up in Manchester as a first-generation Black British Catholic, and over 6,000 guests attended the exhibition in the 3 short weeks it was open. It consisted of several walls displaying a multimedia experience: graffiti, costume, images and books, all things that Paulette felt represented the way she grew up. Allowing Paulette's voice to shine through spurred new and unique interpretations of creativity to Lowry.
There is a dark side to being a human being, and there's a light side to being a human being, and the real humanity of it is being able to accept ourselves for all of it and not kind of shy away from the discussions of mental health and not shy away from the discussions of sexuality. Basically, that exhibition is saying, I am all these things.
The exhibition was a maze for guests to walk through, one that got them lost in stories and harsh truths. The walls around them told the reality of what Paulette and so many people experience growing up in Britain as a person of colour or from a different culture. One of the things it also heavily emphasised was the importance of feminism.
I don't think people realised exactly the power of what I was saying about glass ceilings, about racism, about microaggressions, about having to edit yourself in the workplace. 7 years on from that exhibition, it kind of means even more. So if anybody goes back and looks at their photographs of that exhibition, they will actually realise that this story has grown. It's not kind of disappeared at all. Every single theme in that exhibition is still relevant.
Lowry is an organisation that strives for these stories to be told and finds creativity in the most unassuming places. In fact, there are many ways that artists have interpreted creativity when they have come into the space. Another exhibition held at Lowry was Joe Lathwood's exploration of architecture and sustainability, Making Up.
So I get inspired by lots of different things and end up going down quite niche rabbit holes. I see a lot of art go through the system of being kind of shown and then put in boxes. And I'm like, is there a way of making artwork that doesn't have to fit in a storage locker and not be kept for ages? Maybe it could just be made, shown, and then decompose a bit like we do. And the Sustainable Manifesto was, I think, the main thing that kind of got me thinking about the show for the Lowry. Since 2020, when the lockdown happened, lots of people was very restricted in your movement, and I wasn't going into the studio as much, and I started just drawing loads of ladders. Ladders are like a quintessential tool for getting over something and for seeing a different viewpoint. And then inevitably, you quite quickly realize that the practical, functional ladder is interesting, but the broken, falling apart, warped ladder is actually way more interesting. So then I started looking at these structures that weren't functional anymore, as well as building a structure that people could walk on, which was this boardwalk that curved around the gallery and took you to a big circle where the centre of the circle slowly rotated. And that was a sort of interesting idea of like going on a journey, but the journey not leading anywhere specifically, and maybe turning around or standing still is just as valuable as, you know, the onwards and upwards sort of trajectory that we kind of generally think we should be living in. We didn't open the exhibition with a finished piece of work. We opened the exhibition with something in progress.
Making Up was special because not only was the exhibition something that guests could physically walk through, but the whole process of making it was filmed through CCTV and exhibited too as it occurred. It gave the artwork a tangible feeling of coming into being. Then at the end, the materials were recycled into wooden boxes that people could take home.
And so there was the ladder drawings that gave people a bit of a like, okay, we're looking at journeys and viewpoints and travelling and striving and destiny in some capacity as themes. But you don't get to see the art. You kind of become witness to the artwork being made.
Everyday People by Spencer Tunick was another project that the Lowry's director of visual arts, Michael Simpson, was able to work on.
And so we did this exhibition over 2 days in May 2010, I think it was. And there's these fantastic photographs of 1,000 naked people standing outside the Lowry or standing in Peel Park or standing on street corners. And it sounds a bit gimmicky, but actually what was fantastic was everybody was there for a particular reason about why they're taking their clothes off. So there were conversations with women who'd had mastectomies, or people who were in transition, or men who'd had heart attacks and had scars right down their chests, and people who felt they were too fat or too thin or things like that. It absolutely went to the heart of telling people's stories, and for me it was contemporary art and L.S. Lowry coming together in the best possible way.
In addition to paintings on the walls, Lowry always seems to have something new and exciting to offer the people of Salford. Lowry's curators work incredibly hard to provide engaging content for everybody, especially children, the next generation of Lowry patrons.
So last summer we had an exhibition called, that was around Julia Donaldson books, her and Axel Scheffler, 30 years of Julia and Axel. And that brought in so many families from so many different places, different backgrounds, just going about their daily business. As part of it, they all got a little sketchbook to take away with them. So that hopefully the idea is that they would leave inspired to be artists.
It's such a creative hub. It's packed full of creative people in every single art form you can imagine. It means you never get bored. You've always got something on the horizon. You've got something beyond the horizon, and you're always going to get surprised about what might come up next week.
You know, you can dream big and anything is possible. And you can knock on those doors of places that you think are closed to you. And, you know, with the support of organisations like this, and I hope we do open some of those doors, I think you've got more chance today of seeing yourself in these venues than maybe you did in the 60s, 70s and 80s when I grew up here.
Their kind of programming is open to telling all the stories, or as many of the stories as they can of people. And it's old and new, past, present and future. It has to keep an eye on everything. And I think they do that here really, really well. Well, they found me anyway.
Within the Lowry building, there is more than first meets the eye. Aside from its gallery space, Lowry houses 2 restaurants, rehearsal rooms, conference suites, internal offices, educational facilities, and 3 individual theatres. The largest is the Lyric Theatre, with 1,730 seats, which is one of the largest stages in the UK outside of London's West End. Then followed by the Keys Theatre and the smaller, more intimate Aldridge Studio. The organisation also has incredibly strong ties to the world of dance and was designed to host a thriving dance programme. Hundreds of young people who have come through Lowry have gone on to create their own dance and performance companies that return to their Salford home frequently. Or they have built that relationship as adults and continue to work with Lowry to this day. These dancers are some of the most passionate people I have ever met. They keep returning to build on their lasting dance relationships. We had the pleasure of hearing stories from Akash Odedra and Daisy Howell.
When I learned to walk completely on point. So my first steps were in the form of dance in a way. So anytime I had to open a door, I couldn't just open a door. I had to choreograph how my wrist moved, how the door was pushed. And I remember as a 3-year-old, I used to put a bunch of pennies on the floor and imagine that they're bodies. And I used to move these bodies in space and create formations. And now thinking back at it, I was choreographing.
I remember turning up when I was 14 years old thinking, wow, I get to train in this incredible space and work with incredible people. It really changed my perception on dance, where I saw my career going, the people I engaged with. It really opened my world up, and that was something that has always resonated with me.
Lowry is set up very much to kind of help enhance the experience for a dancer or an artist. Space is very important. See, the relationship of the center to the rest of the body and the relationship of the body with space. These 2 facts play a big role in how you architecturally sculpt dance. It's a theatre that has a kind of multi-dynamic capacity and malleability to it as well. It has the ability to mold itself to fit the performer or the performance.
Another one of the amazing dancers that Lowry works with is Jen Blackwell. Jen started a company called Dance Syndrome, which provides equal opportunity to disabled and non-disabled dancers alike. We spoke to her and her friend Sarah Kennedy about her achievements.
For me, Dance Syndrome provides my dancers a voice to be heard. It's given respect and being valued for who I am. I call it my dancing family.
Jen's work has earned her an honorary doctorate from the University of Salford, which was awarded to her in a ceremony in the Lowry's Lyric Theatre. Her commitment to the dancing community is well known in the local area and beyond.
It's all about working in partnership, isn't it? So we have disabled and learning disabled dancers working alongside non-disabled dance artists, don't we?
Yes, we do community workshops.
And they're always co-led by a learning disabled dance artist and a non-disabled dance artist. And the idea there is about getting people moving, isn't it? Showing people that people with learning disabilities can lead from the front, but also getting people in a room, getting people up, being active. It's always been an issue certainly for the learning disabled population, that people are not particularly active, especially if they've got any mobility difficulties. And not being active, as we know, leads to not only issues with physical health, but with mental health. So it's all about getting people moving in whatever way works for them, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I'm a visual person, and the architecture and the way the windows are allows a lot of the outside world to come in. And you'll see the sunrise and then kind of shift, and you kind of get a different feel, a different ambience every hour or hour and a half. And that's incredible because you feel like you've been through a journey throughout the day. It kind of gives you the spiritual vitamin D to get ready for your show. When you go into the Lowry, you feel the warmth from the moment you walk in. My body's like a lizard. If I don't feel warm, I can't move.
I give my everything. I give it my dedication, my absolute all. I put my heart and soul in everything that I do, because my dancing family is unstoppable, and that makes me special. Even though I do have Down syndrome, it gives me joy, it gives me happiness, it gives me something that I can believe in, dream, believe, achieve, and you will go far.
The immense amount of passion and work that goes into reaching such a wide array of people to access dance and creative art forms and drama and all the things that they do, that's got the biggest impact on me. And I see so much of that happening in the city. And I think a lot of artists and freelancers and facilitators I work with recognise the Lowry for that dual thing of big shows and theatre and amazing kind of work, but also this massive push for enabling people to access creativity.
My dance form is circular, so there's a lot of spinning. The time cycles are circular and movements are circular. So for me to be able to perform at every stage of my career and life again and again in the Lowry and bring in different experiences is this very circular, complete experience, because a circle is one of the shapes which feels complete and it feels like it has no beginning and no end. And I would hope that that's my relationship with the Lowry, that it has no beginning and it has no end.
Many creatives that we spoke to through the One Lowry Many Stories project had a very similar bond with the organisation. One such bond, which has been cultivated over time, is Lowry's strong tie to circus and alternative performance. Occam's Razor is a contemporary circus company who are currently the artists in residence at Lowry, supported by Head of Theatre Operations Steve Cowton.
So contemporary circus is one of my big passions, if you like, and most of the circus programme that we have across the Lowry is programmed by me. People think of circus as big tops, and it's not these days. Circus these days is more of an art form in the way that contemporary dance is. It's a way to convey stories and narrative and emotions without using language. And I'm very proud that in the 17 years I've been at the Lowry, we've really pioneered and championed modern circus performers, and to the point where it's now recognised as an art form by the Arts Council. And in the UK, we're one of the 2 leading venues.
We've had a long relationship with the Lowry. So we have taken every single show that we have made over 17 years. And so that was one of the first places that we performed in a theatre venue and discovered that there was an audience for it and that there was a crossover theatre audience that were interested in circus and interested in a kind of physical theatre storytelling.
Charlotte Mooney is one of the people responsible for creating exciting and moving physical theatre in and around the building through Occam's Razor. At a time where everybody had to social distance, she wanted to make sure that Lowry could still engage its patrons.
So there's a road alongside the side of the venue where the stage door is, and then there's the water and the bridge on the other side. And so they did a small thing so that people could come in, be masked, be socially distanced, and watch a series of shows. What you watched was somebody inside this Perspex tower in a state of isolation that could turn upside down and roll in it. And during the course of the piece, she climbs up the pole, reaches inside the tower and carries out the man that's trapped in the tower and so releases him. And watched in the context of people still not being able to touch each other and the yearning to be able to touch each other was so moving. And it just felt like, oh God, such a metaphor for the last year. It was very striking, and once again, a real testament to the Lowry. They were one of the first venues that were looking at ways to still make arts and still make it happen and reconnect with audiences. I've got such an intimate relationship with that space outside, those bollards outside the building. I have memories of acrobats spending hours trying to learn how they can run along the top of those bollards and jump from bollard to bollard and work out really intricate piece of choreography. And then we worked with a choir, a local choir of 20 local singers, and then they were hidden within the audience. So that at certain points in the show, they would suddenly, like a flash mob, start to sing to create this kind of beautiful sense of dislocation.
It's clear that Lowry is ambitious in the audience it strives to reach, but what happens when those audiences cannot physically attend the space? The patrons that benefit the most from the Lowry's imaginative schemes are often the vulnerable adults and children of Salford. Their dedicated learning and engagement team pour their heart and soul into encouraging the next generation of Lowry goers to explore art, performance and community projects, just like Katie Duxbury.
I was in and out of hospital a lot as a child, and one of the things that really helped me was creativity. I was very, very fortunate and very lucky to have a support network around me who were able to do really creative things with me. So one of my biggest passions ever since I was a child is going to the theatre. And it was Christmas time, and my grandparents, they just wanted me to get to be able to access theatre. So my grandpa managed to call the local theatre and managed to book a box for me, which meant I could be away from the crowds and then go in, watch the show, enjoy it, and still have something to take away from it. And I got thinking, in a post-COVID world that we live in, I can't even begin to imagine what it must be going through that recovery journey now, in a world where that element is so heightened. And if we can support children, families going through illness, recovery, by doing something creative and giving them a lovely experience and making it a very normal experience where they can just connect and just be a family. During the pandemic, we equipped ourselves at Lowry with all the live streaming kits so we could share shows with audiences. So we had all the equipment and we thought, how amazing would it be if we could share a family show with those families? We started doing the live stream in 2022 with Tall Stories Room on the Broom, and we live streamed the show to Royal Manchester Children's Hospital, Francis House Children's Hospice, and the Christie. They were the three ones at the beginning. Everyone loved it. And because we are a team who don't go, okay, that's fine as it is, we always like to think, okay, how can we build on this? How can we make it bigger, better, brighter, more fabulous for those people that we're serving? We built in bringing facilitators and bringing activities to the children, the families. So, for example, when it was snowing on the stage, we blew bubbles into the room so that there was something very tangible, something very physical in the room that you just can't recreate just off a screen. And bringing live theatre to those families was just really, really magical.
When you're working in an environment so full of creative ideas, you're bound to get your hands dirty. Lowry staff have always been all hands on deck with their projects, even when the unexpected happens and they have to put down their morning coffee to step out onto the stage.
Not last Christmas, Christmas before, we're going on a bear hunt at the Lowry. I was driving into work, just a normal Thursday, not a care in the world. And I get a phone call, and it's from one of my colleagues in the office. And she goes, Katie, what have you got your agenda this morning? Are you doing anything today? And I went, well, I've got operations meeting at 11. But other than that, I think I'm relatively flexible. Why? What's the matter? She went, oh, God, right. Well, if we can get your meeting covered, we have Alex here, and he's just looking for someone to be a bear this morning. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe there's like an event or something for the show this morning. And because I knew we'd had characters wander around for the Julian Axel exhibition, and I thought maybe it was just that. I was like, well, that's it. Yeah, then okay. So anyway, we hang up the phone. I'm carrying on in my car. I'm thinking, oh, this doesn't feel right. And I thought, well, what if the costume doesn't fit me? Because I'm relatively short. So I rings Emily back, my colleague, and I go, oh, yeah. I said, are you sure you want me to do it? And Emily goes, yeah. So turns out what you've agreed to do is not just wander around the corridors and the foyer. They need a bear for the show this morning. We actually need you to go on stage. And I went, what? She went, yeah, so apparently the person playing the bear isn't able to come in this morning and they're a bit short of an understudy, so they need you to do it. And I went, I don't know if that's a possibility, if I can do that. This must have been about 8:30 in the morning. The show is at 10:30. Can I check? Have we run this by the managers? And Emily goes, I'll talk to them. It'll be fine. So again, we hang up the phone and I'm carrying on in. And I'm like, there's no way I can do this. There's just no way. No, there's no way. It's 2 hours till the show starts. Anyway, next thing I know, the phone rings again. And it's my line manager. And I answer the phone and I go, hiya. She goes, hello. I hear you've been asked to be the bear in this morning's production of We're Going on a Bear Hunt. She goes, I think you'll be great. And she said, right, okay, look, the thing is, like, if you don't do it, they're going to have to cancel the show. And it's pretty sold out. So no pressure, but you'll be fine. You're really experienced. You're really great. All this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, then I guess I'm doing it. So by the time I actually got into the theatre, I had 20 minutes to practice the routine, run it in costume, and then the house was opening for the show for the audience to come in. And I just remember walking onto the stage. It was like a weird sort of blur of, is this happening? Am I dreaming? Am I going to wake up any minute and do this whole morning again? And the cast were on stage and they were like, oh, great, so glad you're here. shall we? And I was like, shall we indeed? So I don't, if you know the story of We're Going on a Bear Hunt, it's the bear literally comes on right at the end, and it's when the bear chases them back through the woods and back through where they'd been to get back to the house. So it was a full costume, like, you know, with like the big head and everything. So it was just learning a routine, you know, obviously with the time and everything that we had to play with, that they'd shortened it down so I didn't have as much choreography to learn. It was the most bizarre morning ever. And I actually rang my mum to be like, guess what I'm doing this morning? I remember going to my mum, what is my life? And then I looked around and there's the deputy CEO of the Lowry, and she was like, thank you so much. And I had all these people coming up and I was like, how do you know? How does everybody know about this? But news had spread like wildfire.
Stories like Katie's are important to Lowry because it shows just how adaptable and resilient its brilliant staff are. The organisation is endlessly grateful for the spectacular ethos of the people within the building and all of the touring companies and artists it greets. At the end of the day, Lowry would just be a quirky looking building on the quays if it wasn't uplifted by the creative people that have made themselves at home within its walls. We'd like to thank all of the individuals who gave their time to Lowry, especially the 40 plus interviewees who have helped to shape One Lowry Many Stories. One Lowry Many Stories was commissioned by the National Lottery Heritage Fund in partnership with the University of Salford. This is just one of 4 commissions for Lowry Turns 25. Please find the others at lowry.com. Thanks for listening. I'm Eleanor Whitehurst.
Where the good times go and what's to show as you see 25 years blur into one. Where do memories live? What if I said what if you could press rewind back in time to what is gone? When was the first time you stepped inside the building? What was your highlight, your most life-affirming feeling? So many memories